Hello guys, video. The biggest reason why Ippo lost. Yes. And somebody say, oh, not biggest reason, the real reason why Ippo lost. And this is referring to both the Alfredo Gonzalez fight and the Antonio Conveyor fight. Somebody said, what do you mean? You've already know. No. So there's some who don't know. And there's a few hints and foreshadowing that people, it's not really, I can't really say people didn't see, but this could pretty much cover the overall reasons that led to Ippo losing to Alfredo Gonzalez and then losing to Antonio Conveyor. But first, let's get the first part of the video out of the way. The misconceptions. A lot of people got their own personal conceptions of what Ippo lost. Number one, Ippo was not punch drunk, especially before he fought Gonzalez. He was not punch drunk. I don't know what drugs or what you was on, but he was not punch drunk. Somebody say, what about the weaker comment? We'll get to the weaker comments. But that's misconception 1. Misconception 2. Everybody keep on talking about Ippo using the face block. Oh, Ippo used the face block this. Ippo used the face block that. Ippo rarely blocked with his face. Now, blocking with your forehead is different than your face, because your forehead, you can break somebody's hand. Your forehead, you're actually reducing the damage than just taking a full-on hit. Then again, I pay too much attention to things. And then, like, another case, oh, is Ippo getting hit too much? He's blocking with his face. No! He was going against elite top-tier competition. Makangeto was not no joke. Wally wasn't a joke. Who else? Of course, it's just like all these opponents, especially all the Asian champions, were mostly outfired besides from Jimmy Fister, and with top-tier opponents, Ippo just wasn't getting hit just to get hit. He was getting hit because he could not get out of the way. These are elite level fighters. He's just not, Ippo just running his face into it time and time again. He keeps trying to block with his forehead when he's not. Because it clearly emphasized when he tried to block with his forehead and when he's not. Because then again, when Alfredo Gonzalez does it, no type of jokes. Ippo does it, is what it is. And as it refers to Antonio Conveyor, was Ippo punch drunk? No, he wasn't. It was accumulated damage. And I'll get into the reason why it was accumulated damage and the whole punch drip thing later. But some people want to argue this Ippo's fighting style is wrong, which I don't see how, since the Ippo that fought against Gonzalez was going back to the basics. And that's what most people wanted, Ippo to go back to the basics, and his liver rope return back to the uppercut form, so they can use it as a feint to go up to the top of somebody's head. To each their own. To each their own. But I just want to get those quick misconceptions out of the way. But let's go to the second half. The Mishiba and Sendo's coach and AJ's Dante weaker comments. Let me go with the Mishiba one, because he's pretty much the one who started this whole train besides from Takamura. Because Mishiba's pretty much reinstated it. But, well, number one. Mishiba haven't fought, seen, or heard of Sendo in decades. He has seen Sendo at fights here and there. He doesn't even know how much stronger or how much weaker Sendo has gotten since then. But an interesting point everybody will overlook the whole weaker comment is what directly precedes after that. Because he basically goes over and just, who kicks your ass? And he's just like, oh, what, you let Sendo whoop your ass even though you beat him twice? Ippo's like, yeah, it's kind of like a miracle. But then like Mishiba brings up, so you're only training just to make sure you come back home safe. Is that something a world champion should say? Really? No wonder you got your ass kicked. You gotten weaker. And somebody say, what does getting weaker mean? I'll heavily cover it later, but basically it had nothing to do with Ippo's physical strength. Because now analyzing the text, the data, rebooting the research, it has absolutely nothing to do with Ippo's physical strength and endurance. Because I just came through the final realization of why Ippo, with everything that led up to Ippo loss, and a big reason that no one brings up, and it's something that showed up during the Jimmy Fister fight, but never was solved. But as for the Sendo coach saying that, oh, maybe Gonzalez is strong or maybe he's weaker. Number one, everybody didn't even know if Ippo would be able to beat Alfredo Gonzalez or not. Everybody. Maru's list, maybe he can, maybe he's not. Even Takamura was flip-flopping. So using that as a basis that Ippo was weaker, even the Sendo's coach himself said, oh, I had him at even odds. You idiot! Somebody's gonna have to lose. It's similar to what you said. I thought Ippo was gonna win that. It did not include the fact that after the fight, Amai broke down exactly why Ippo got hit with that right counter from Freddy Gonzalez. If he would have done a more compact right instead of a wide one, Freddy Gonzalez would never had the chance to counter him. And Ippo did get countered. So, when it refers to those weaker comments of what Mishibu said with this, said, and that, what Mishibu was implying was totally different. And I haven't reread what Dante said, but I'm pretty sure it goes to a similar lane. And also, back to the whole face blocking thing, I guess AJ Dante was just face blocking against Ricardo Martinez. To me, it's not really the meme. It's the fact that people try to use that as a... Cause this whole thing started because I said that Freddy Gonzalez... I posted the image, said this is my favorite Ippo. But I guess no one can remember it. This is from the Freddy Gonzalez fight. It is what it is. So some might say, if it wasn't Ippo being punch drunk, if it wasn't Ippo being physically weaker, then what was it? What was it? And it goes back to what Miguel Zala said to Coach Kurogama. Ippo's greatest strengths will be Ippo's greatest weakness. And that is Ippo's undying courage / fighting spirit and Ippo's stubbornness. In both occasions is the reason why Ippo lost against Freddy Gonzalez, and because Ippo's courageousness, his urge, his fighting spirit, his desperation to win against Gonzalez, pushing himself to the limit and beyond to go against Gonzalez. If he wasn't so driven to end the fight right then and there, and he would have paused, or just would have thrown a more compact punch, Freddy Gonzalez would never knock him out. But it's one of his courageousness. He got heavy endurance, is what he's known for. But in this case, against Freddy Gonzalez, it backfired and it blew up in his face. Because a combination of the accumulated damage and that courageousness, blam, Ippo gets knocked out cold. Somebody say, what do you mean by stubbornness? Against Antonio Guevara. Which I don't know if I ever am saying his name right or not. Against Antonio Guevara, there are multiple times where Ippo stretches this man across his back, across the canvas, and Antonio is just like, what? What happened? Multiple times Ippo laid this man out with the new fighting style, with the new Dipero, with the new fighting style and techniques the new Dipero allows him to do. He lays him out multiple times. And each time Ippo had the brain dead stupid idea to say Dipero, and it's quite ironic. It is quite ironic, isn't it, that Ippo get hit with the exact same anti-Dipero counter that Sawamura did. But this time just with Antonio Guevara. The exact same. If he wasn't so stupid and stubborn and just would have opened up his vision, he would have not got counted. Not including the fact, on top of that, the Dipchiro, the new one, was never complete. They did not put enough time to actually getting Ippo to properly aim the darn thing. Anybody can beat up in a heavy bag, but twice doing both times. In the actual match in sparring, Ippo took off his wrist. Now, in sparring, he still had on wrist weights. Against Guevara, he didn't have the wrist weights. Both times, he could not aim the Dipchiro properly. At least at the sparring, he was wearing headgear, wrist weights, and all that. In the actual match, he could not aim the damn thing. It doesn't make any sense of how he used it multiple times. He was shadow boxing with it multiple times, and he still cannot aim it at all. You can call it accumulated damage. You can call it whatever it is. Cause you can argue if Ippo was punch drunk in that fight. Not to me, he wasn't. What? All that, if it wasn't for Ippo being that stubborn, and if he just would have won the fight normally, he would have won the fight. He would have won the fight easily. But he didn't. Because of course, the thick-skulled Ippo, there's a reason why I put this phrase, Death Gods and Dallas killed Ippo's career, and Antonio's the one who bared it. Because at least with Gonzalez, Ippo made a slight mistake, but he still could have won. Antonio, he was just being stupid. he was just doing whatever he wants to do. He wasn't listening to the coach. He kept going to the Dempsey. And it's funny how when Ippo said the main reason he lost to Freddy Gonzalez, because I was just trying to show the coach that our boxing works on the world level. No, that was what he was doing in the Antonio fight, because you kept trying to show him the new Dempsey. At least in the first fight, you was winning. You was doing what the coach was telling you to do. It was both Ippo and the coach who agreed that the coach's boxing does work on the world level. And he was beating Gonzalez. He was winning to the point where Gonzalez was terrified, sitting bricks and just like, I understand why he's so dangerous now. I cannot let this animal get towards Gonzalez. I cannot allow this to happen. But it's that same character, good old Ippo, that just... Because those are just Ippo's two greatest strengths. Because, like, especially the Asian Champions arcs, with Malcolm and Wally especially, Ippo's just eating punches. And he's not going down. He's just eating punches and punches and punches. And like I said in my response to the Reddit, the exact same thing that ended Ippo's career was the exact same thing that ended the coach's career. The coach's courage and his stubbornness, because he knew that he had zero chances of beating Ralph Anderson, and he trained to fight him at the Nakota anyway. And what happened? Because his courage and his stubbornness, he chose to practice on his body blows by punching a log into a heel, breaking and damaging his own hands, and then in the actual match, basically crippling his damn hands and ending his fight career completely. Because arguably, he didn't even have to punch the wood into the side of the wall and into the side of the heel just to improve his body blows. He doesn't, but he did it anyway. His stubborn and thick-headedness ended not only Koigama's career, it ended up ending Ippo's career as well. And on top of that, you hear me keep on saying, I keep on bringing up accumulated damage. Another thing, some might say, how come Ippo have all this accumulated damage? And people like Sendo, Mishiba, and Miyata, like other people from his generations who's been around as long as he has, don't have this problem. Well, it's quite simple. It is very simple. All of those characters had to take mandatory time off. All of them. Miyata. Not only did Miyata end up losing to Mishiba, not only did that happen, Miyata ended up later breaking both of his hands and had to postpone the Ippo versus Miyata fight again. Mishiba. Not only did he lose to Ippo in the Ricky King Championships and had to move up a weight class, become Japanese champion, and then he ended up fighting Sawamura, gets banned for over a total year of no type of in-ring action. And then he comes back and then he continues his career. Sendo, multiple occasions. Number one, he was knocked out in the first fight. He got to take a mandatory 3 months off. Knocked out in the first fight. Secondly, he broke his ribs in the second fight. Like, you know how many chapters went by and episodes went by before? Like, in the entirety of a new challenger, Sendo didn't fight or do anything. Like, that's just, like, at least over 200 chapters, Sendo was just in rehab. And then he comes back in Hajime Ippo Rising, and he's back. And then on top of that, against Jose Nargo, he hits Mishiba's, Pacific Championship belt, injures his hand, and then he does that chopping right. Because the knuckle drop was at first, I thought maybe the first time he just hits the ground. Against Gonzalez, it confirmed that when he throws the knuckle drop, he actually throws it with so much force it hits the damn ground. I don't see how he does that and still stands, but then again, it's a Sendo. He breaks his hands against Jose Nargo. That's some more time off. And then he breaks his hands against Gonzalez. That's some more time off. Everybody else in Ippo's weight class has had to take mandatory time off. They have been banned. They have something that's happened to them that has postponed their career. But ever since Ippo has lost to AJ Dante, he has never taken any time off. It has been one challenging fight after another, one after another. He fought that guy from Thailand. He fought Sendo. He fought Sonata. He fought Hammer Now. He fought that other guy towards the end of the challenger. Then he fought Sambukuro, someone more. The fights continue to go on against top tier opposition. With every single fight, besides the Kurosawa fight, Ippo was always fighting for his life. Ippo always had to improve. Ippo always had to get better, which lead to why his body started to wear down. Most of the time throughout the series, especially with the new Dentro, people like Dr. Yamaguchi, especially during the first season, have constantly said that Ippo is chipping away on his own career by what he's doing. And he just does it anyway. So the fact that he ended up crashing and burning, and Miguel I was right, is not that surprising because he's doing no different from what his teacher have taught him. Kurogama did the exact same thing. He trained his body to the bones, he worked his way to the bone, and he crashed and burned just like Ippo did. The only difference was he was able to catch Ralph Anderson, and he, instead of going for uppercut, he went for a body blow, and he broke both. He ended his career, but he still won the fight. Well, I went by that real quick, but yeah, to sum it up, some of the key reasons why Ippo lost, especially against Gonzalez, was accumulated damage in his courage. One of Ippo's greatest strengths was his courage. Another one of Ippo's greatest strengths is his stubbornness, not to lose, not to give up, which caused him to lose against Antonio. And this would be the part of the video I'd be like, you know, and the biggest person we can blame for this is Coach Kurogama. He the one who trained Ippo like this. He was the one who grinded Ippo to a halt. He was the one who pushed Ippo to his limits and beyond. It was him, it was him, it was him, it was him. Just like he ended his own career, he prematurely ended Ippo's career. I would say no. And that was a part of the original script until I realized what Mishiba meant when he told Ippo in front of Kumi, no wonder why Sendo whooped your ass. You're weaker. And what he meant by that is the same reason why Miyata, ever since he fought Randy Boy Jr., he hasn't done anything. After Miyata, Ippo didn't have a goal. Honestly, Ippo didn't truly want to fight Ricardo Martinez. He just didn't. He was going into the Gonzalez fight with no reason to fight Gonzalez at all. He had no drive. He had nothing. He was just walking in there I'm just doing it. And it goes back to what I was telling that guy in the comment section, that what does it mean to cross the line? Because it's obviously implied to a certain degree. Crossing the line does not imply it rage Ippo. It doesn't imply Ippo going berserk, because if that was the case, we got against Kojima and Teihei. It has to be entering into a realm that is different from everyone else. Entering into a realm where you no longer see your opponent as a human being anymore. A realm where Ricardo Martinez has lived in that domain and ruled so high by himself in the sky that his own people call him both a son and a death god. He's a realm that only with the Mike Elliott, and not with the Mike Elliott, only with the Michael Goat fight and the Billy McCullum fight with both Takamura and Martinez respectively, you'll be able to understand what crossing the line actually means. Because truthfully, Ippo had no reason at all to actually fight Death God Gonzalez. He had none. He had no drive. Like, ever since Miyata, he's had not too much really drive. It's really have been the coach just pushing him along, and that's it. And this is not the first time this has happened. Remember, after Ippo beat Miyata the first time, beat Miyata for the first time during the rematch, he went the exact same process where the coach was just like, oh, he's just really just been cruising by. Really, he's just been basically going into autopilot. He's been doing the exact same thing, and that's when the coach sent Ippo to go train and watch the struggles of Takamura. And then it's like Ippo like not understand, like just like in the whole will Ippo return video. After Miyata, his next goal wasn't to what does it mean to be strong anymore. He would just go for the world stage, fight the Asian champions, relinquish the belt, and fight the number 2 in the world. That was pretty much it. He had no drive to do all this. And it's quite sad because honestly, because it's amazing, because like the way I don't know, the way you want to see it, because some people like to treat like somebody like kids like Mario or Mishima talk about Sendo and Ippo like they're very similar when they should be on the same levels. You can't really say that because like when Sendo took that counter from Gonzalez, he wanted to get hit with that counter, and he saw that counter coming. With Ippo, he was not expecting to get hit by that counter, and he got knocked out cold. Well, this might be a really short video, but yeah, I chose to leave from work early to record this video because it's just like there's like a legit real reason why Ippo lost those two fights, and Miguel was 100% right with his two greatest strengths, his courage and his stubbornness. Both end up causing him to lose twice against Gonzalez and against Antonio. Both times. And then on top of that, Mishiba, Takamura, and Dante was right. Ippo had no type of drive. He was just going on autopilot. Ippo did not want to actually win. He tried to use the cheap excuse of, I was just trying to show up to coach boxing. But even against Antonio, the entire final monologue, if the new Diptero would have hit and Antonio would have got back up, do you truly believe that Ippo would have won that fight? And on top of that, let's just say Ippo beats Antonio, right, in the rematch. Do you really even see Ippo trying to continue his career? Like that final monologue against Antonio, Ippo actually scratched that. Antonio didn't bury his career. Ippo buried his own career. Just like Mike Tyson, old trainer, Customato, always said, boxing is 10% physical and 90% mental. Cause he was one. This is why the coach is just like so surprised where he was trying to like do the match with Ippo after the whole Miyata fight got canceled. Ippo was like, for what? Like seriously. After Miyata, he had like no real goal. Like seriously, look at throughout the series up until the Randy Boy Jr. fight. Both Ippo and Miyata were trying to one-up each other with the Dempstro, with the joke counter, or the tornado joke. And the tornado, with the tornado joke. Each time they were trying to get better, trying to one-up each other, and each time Miyata showed up, or Ippo showed up, or mainly Miyata, every time Miyata showed up to one of Ippo's fights, it was always to see another weakness, another flaw in Ippo. He was arguably, to a certain degree, we like to question how much Ippo fanboys of Miyata, but honestly, Miyata has broken his neck more to see Ippo fight than anybody else. You can't name me one other person, not even Kuma, who's broken her necks to be right. It doesn't matter if he's not sitting down. Miyata has made sure for like a long period of time, even before the Sawamura fight, to always show his ass up to Ippo's fights. He's an undercover Makunouchi fan. That's what he is. But yeah, it's like you can see through the entire time, Ippo and Miyata were constantly trying to one-up each other. Even when Miyata was even on the table and he left the country in one of his Thailand and Korean boxing spree, it was Sendo that was the goal. Beat Sendo, become Japanese champion. And then with Sanada, defend the championship, second time. And then against Hammer now, defend it against my old friend. Then against he's that one guy he ended up one-shot in the first round before Takamura fought Brian Huff. This is a count. But against like with each one, Ippo was pushing himself further. Especially what most proved the fact that Ippo drive was killed, what led to his end of his career. Is pretty much the Sawamura Ryu fight. Whether you like the man or not, Miyata was there for a specific reason. He wanted to see if Sawamura could end Ippo's career right here. And he didn't see it. He got a blaze of blueprint. And it's quite sad, because when you think about it, it really is quite sad. Because at first I was going to blame this on the coach. At first it was just supposed to be a simple video re-establishing what I was saying, like how his Ippo courage and stubbornness. But honestly, the real reason is that Ippo had no drive anymore. He was just on autopilot. He was just boxing just because he loved the sport, and that's it. He was not ever trying to become world champion. And there's a reason why I say the Al fight was the last time we actually seen the Wind God himself. Because you look at it, that was the only time where you could act like he actually really had a drive to actually go against Martinez. And that was pretty much it. Arguably, that was the last time he actually had a drive to actually like move his career somewhere. Which is quite sad. That was like legitimately the last time. And it's funny because I was supposed to break this video up in parts, have all this type of special editing and this and that. But honestly, it's just a straightforward video. The real reason why Ippo lost, or those reasons right there. His resume, fighting top tier opponent after top tier opponent, and not taking a proper recovery time to recover. Because Hajime did the exact same thing. After Ippo, just tough fight after tough fight after tough fight. And look at Hajime now, a shadow of him for himself. Ippo even seen the parallels right there, and Kobashi confirmed that it was accumulated damage. Is there much more to dispute, to talk about, really? When it first said a reason why Ippo lost, Ippo courage set him up for that right hand. Ippo's stubbornness led to him losing to Antonio. Like, there's supposed to be like a lot longer video. And then like the biggest reason, which I surprised only figured this out like moments ago, that Ippo has never had a drive ever since Miyata and Ippo could never fall. So even then, somebody said, how come Miyata was still winning and things like that? Because it was basically exposed and revealed by Amai that he was still waiting for Ippo. Ippo was 100% believing the fight was never going to happen, but Miyata never did stop believing and the fight was going to happen eventually. And just like, Ippo's not all naive and just like, you don't see it? You haven't noticed that for the longest period of time that you and Miyata was chasing after each other? You become the rookie king, and Miyata's like, I gotta do better. You won the Japanese championships, Miyata says, I gotta do better. And both time one up each other, pushing themselves to the limit, trying to figure out a way to beat the other one. And the fight gets canceled. And after that, to be honest, after the fight gets canceled, it's just, Ippo was just fighting the exact same way against Wally as he did against Malcolm, against Kojima the exact same way. Besides from the fact he was just mad that time against Kojima. And arguably, his career was just stagnant, to be real. He wasn't trying to improve himself at all. It was just like he was just going through the numbers, really. And that was pretty much it. There was like no drive to keep me out or nothing. You could argue it's a similar thing that Itagaki is going through right now, and how you just keep having these mud fights. And it's ironic that I make a video before saying that Itagaki ever going to evolve. Cause somebody say, but Ippo against Antonio, he was trying to improve, but that time it was already too late. You got knocked out cold. You did not take the proper time away from the gym to even improve yourself. Because I forgot where I forgot where I read it, like Kobashi or somebody brought it up, where it's just like it would take like Hajime like 1 or 2 years of retirement to recover from his damage, and Ippo just tried to hop straight back into the gym like a few months later. He didn't even take the proper time to recover for Antonio. And he just went in there with a brand new technique that he's barely really trained for. He barely even used. He barely even hit the heavy bag without them weights on either. So it's yes. Now I would say a current Ippo without the wrist wrap is a 10 times better one than the one that went against Antonio, but it's just, truthfully, it was all those key things, a bad combination of Storm. Eventually this Ippo Koigama hype train was going to end eventually. Because somebody say, oh Takamura's had hard fights. Like, Takamura and Sendo like one-shot most of their opponents in the first round. They're not really, like, seriously. Even when, like, look at Ippo's face at the end of the Gonzalez fight. And look at Sendo's face at the end of the Gonzalez fight. Arguably, Sendo took more punches. Straight to the face. At least Ippo was trying to block. Sendo was just getting hit. And Ippo's face was swollen up. His eyes were swollen up. He was like Rocky Balboa And Sendo faces the end of the fight. He's pretty as a picture. Because to this date, Sendo has the best endurance of any character of Hajime Ippo to date. This man is an absolute animal. He took 2 Dempsey rolls to put down. And the second one was a Dempsey roll combination with a Gonzalo punch. So Sendo's is an outright monster. And he had the proper time to recover from his damage. He had a total year to recover from that slaughter match he had with Ippo. An entire year of rest time. And Ippo just went straight into a fight with Sanada. It's kind of sad when you realize it, because I was the type of person, when I heard Ippo was going to lose to Gonzalez, I was just like, I couldn't watch that fight. I couldn't watch that. Eventually, when Ippo lost to Dante, I wasn't expecting it. That one was just watching anime, like back when I was in high school. So it just, I knew when Gonzalo was going to lose. Just like it's taking me a while. I don't know if I even still fully watched that whole Joe versus Jose Mendoza fight or not. But at first, the Ippo versus Gonzalez, I was delaying it, and I sat down to watch, and I was like, bro, just go, Ippo, go, and he had me believing up to Gonzalez's right hand hit his face, and he fell over like a tombstone, and he fell asleep. Took a nasty dirt nap, and it's quite sad. Quite sad. And plus, against Antonio, he wasn't just hit with a normal hit. He got hit with an outright counter. And that was not going to end well for him either way. Because if Tony just would have hit him with a regular left hand, which was his power hand, it would have been like, alright, Ippo could have took that. Ippo got countered with that left hand and was put to sleep immediately. On top of that, accumulated damage. Like, honestly, he wasn't even trying to win. Because, like, at the end of Gonzalez's fight, Ippo had the drive, the courage to win. But, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I might have spent too much time looking at this. Because in that Reddit, man, I was furious. I was cold-blooded. I was just like, what? How could Death God... Like, do you even know the reasons why? And what led up to why Ippo lost twice back-to-back in the first place? Do you, have you not been reading anything? Alright, then it's just like, there's somebody who honestly believed that Ippo had brain damage. Like, seriously, like, when did Ippo forget anything? When was Ippo walking on shaky legs? Because and plus not cool in the fact, Ippo not drawing a straight line after a fight. It's not a new thing. If Imozal was real, he'll testify to that. So it's just like, Ippo had brain damage? What? He never had the shaky hands, the forget memory, or anything like that? Oh, he was in the early stages. It has literally been like, what, months to close to a year? And he's been without treatment? And he's still fine? What? You just don't stop fighting and you'll be done. You're supposed to get treatment for brain damage. You're supposed to get treatment for CTE. We've seen what happened to people when you don't get treatment for their brain disorder. We've seen what football players have done. We have seen what happens to people. If you don't know, in real life boxing, Freddie Roach, very similar. He was just taking hits left and right. And his coach, before he continued his career, I don't know if he should keep fighting. And he fought 2 more fights, and sadly, similar to Muhammad Ali, ends with Parkinson's. Like, you just can't take hits to the face and walk away untreated. That's not how it works. And Ippo has been fine ever since. So Ippo was never punch drunk. I guess the video I made just doesn't mean nothing. Because some people just don't learn, man. They just don't learn. It's just like they act like they can't read or anything like that. And it's just, I gotta sit here and make the video. So in my opinion, which is backed by somewhat fact and some foreshadowing with Miguel here, Miguel Howe, that the reason why Ippo lost the fight was a combination of accumulated damage that he never did let recover. He was courage to win against Gonzalez, which allowed him instead of throwing a small compact right, he threw a punch too wide, and he got his face split open by Gonzalez. and his stubbornness, his blind stubbornness against Antonio to use the Dempsey role without any second thought. And finally, the fourth and final reason, it is not the coach's fault 100%, because even a coach should be able to know that his fighter is taking too many hits and he might need to take, some extra time to heal, which he never did. But number 4, it is not the coach the biggest reason why. It is Ippo had no drive at all. He had no drive to win. He forgot his goal. He forgot that the whole reason he started boxing was not to keep up with Miyata, was not to fight Sendo, was not to fight Ricardo Martinez. It was always to find out what does it mean to be strong. And he forgot the basic foundation of why he started boxing in the first place, and he got knocked out for it. So let me Mr. Software King, let me know you guys' thoughts and opinion on the video, because the whole Reddit thing is just, this is why I stay away from that Reddit, because some of those fuckers are just, some of them niggas are just stupid. It's just like, are you even reading the same material? Do you not even know what fight the image is from? Like, do you even not read? I'm sorry to go off on the rant, but my god, it's one thing not to think that's Ippo your favorite, but you think that's Antonio Gonzalez? Did you not even read the Freddy Gonzalez fight? Are you serious? I gotta literally state it. Yeah, that's from the Gonzalez fight. I'm starting to think they don't even know which Ippo I'm even talking about. Cause Ippo against Antonio never even had a swollen eye. So why would he even think that was the Antonio Ippo? This is why I dislike people. But let me shock with you guys look during the video. Do you believe that these were the 4 key reasons why Ippo ended up losing against both Gonzalez and Antonio, or do you just believe this is just another madman going off to some rant? Let's be boom shot with King. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and peace.